So yesterday we got some bad news, not unexpected, is that the Democrats were going to be shelving their supposed ambitions that they had to pass the Build Back Better bill this year or ever. But don't worry, we found out that while they would be shelving Build Back Better, they would be moving forward aggressively now on voting rights. So Jesse Rodriguez assured us that that's what they were saying, aggressively moving forward on voting rights. And they did aggressively move forward for like 3.5 hours. And then, nope, they're not going anywhere because Kyrsten Sinema says, no, we're not getting rid of the filibuster even for voting rights. I don't care. So that's a fun little headline. And look, that's not surprising either. She has, for all of her corruption and the terrible position she has, she's been consistent. I won't do literally anything or allow anything to be done. That's it. That's her position. She did not get elected to solve problems. She got elected to be a barrier to anything being done, and she holds that position. Now, that doesn't mean that there won't be some lies around the edges. We will get that too. So for instance, when her spokesperson said she believes that the right to vote and faith in our electoral process are critical to the health of our democracy, and I won't lift one damn finger to help in either of those areas. So how critical is it? What does the word critical mean if you won't do literally anything? And in this, I don't just mean like I expect you to get rid of the filibuster entirely. I know she's not gonna do that. Or even expect her to like do a little carve out for voting rights legislation in the same way that they already have for things like SCOTUS nominees or raising the debt ceiling. They've already done it in multiple areas. Why can't they do it here? There are answers, we'll get to them. How about, for instance, if you want there to be a filibuster, how about you, I don't know, make them filibuster? How about you put up the voting rights legislation and the Republicans have to stand and talk, and if they stop, it passes. And you make them show the whole country that they do not want anyone to be able to vote. But no, she won't even require them to actually do the things she says she values so much. So we'll have more on this and her little attempts to do a little bit of jujitsu there. But yeah, once again, Jason, nothing is going to get done, and largely for the same reasons. There's enough people who will stop any progress.
John, for the audience who doesn't know what a filibuster is, can you explain what a filibuster is? Because I had a conversation with someone who was like, what is that? Why do I keep hearing what a filibuster is? How old is it? How does that impact our government?
Yes. No, that's a great point, and sometimes I do assume that everyone knows this, but lots of people start watching these videos, every month, and people internationally. So you might believe that in a democracy, you have a vote on something, and the side that gets more votes passes. That would be great. It's not actually how it works in the Senate. Instead, we have a thing which is called a filibuster, which is effectively a traditional way of showing respect for debate and things like that. It means that if somebody wants to stand and speak, a senator, they get to do that for as long as they want. And what that means is if they want to stop the Senate from accomplishing something, they can just keep talking. So when you think of classic movies like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, that's what it is. It's a person who refuses to yield their spot so nothing can be done. Now that is effectively now just a myth. It exists in movies like that. It doesn't exist in practice because you do not have to stand up and actually talk. What you get to do is eventually they realize that allowing one individual to stop literally anything from being done anytime they want makes it difficult to accomplish anything. So long ago, the Senate decided to change the filibuster by adding what is called, I'm blanking on the word now, but effectively, if you can get together 60 individuals to vote to end debate, you can move on with business. So what that produced was that effectively, you no longer needed 51 votes to get anything done. You needed 60 because cloture, thank you. If the other side can get together 40 people, then they can stop anything from being done. But at least at that point, you still had to actually talk. Now, why does that distinction matter? What's the difference if you have to stand up and talk like in Mr. Smith Goes to Washington? Well, because there's effectively a potential risk of damage to you and your side. If something is being proposed, a bill that's popular, that the people want, and you have to stand and take up time for an hour, for 10 hours, for 3 days, for a week, then that will draw media attention. It will demonstrate to people the lengths you're willing to go to stop something popular from being done. But you don't have to do that anymore. You just have to, every bill is automatically assumed that the other side is gonna filibuster it. So unless you can get 60 people, nothing gets done, aside from the things like Supreme Court nominations and raising the debt ceiling that have had what are called carve-outs, which means you can't filibuster them. So there have already been so many times that this has been changed and amended. It's, by the way, not a part of the Constitution. It's just a tradition and a little bit of the rules of the Senate. It's nothing to do with the Constitution. It's been amended multiple times. And now people like Sinema, in trying to take up as a shield this supposed veneration they have for this great tradition, which again has been changed many times historically, can use it to stop anything from being done. You don't have to take a lot of unpopular stands in voting on legislation if you never have to vote at all because virtually everything is filibustered. So Sinema, who is there in the Senate to benefit millionaires and billionaires, she's been put there to represent them, not us. To do that, in theory, absent a filibuster, would have to make a lot of incredibly unpopular votes, and it would be very clear where she stands on these sorts of things. By maintaining the filibuster, she doesn't have to make those votes. Nothing happens. That protects her, and the people that put her in the Senate don't want anything to be done because under the status quo, they're already doing just fine. So this constant gridlock benefits them. It hurts us because we have problems that need to be solved, but it's perfectly fine from their point of view. And that is why we have these nonsensical discussions about the tradition and respect and all. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with whether anything will be done, and they don't want it to be. Anyway, that was a mess. I apologize, Jason.
No, it's not a mess. Thank you for that. Thank you for illuminating that, because like for a lot of people, you so eloquently explained it, don't know what a filibuster is. And may I add, whenever you see a moment of something being filibustered in movies or TV, it's always with someone who's like wearing a diaper to stand there for hours. And seriously, Scandal, that show, the Shonda Rhimes show, had Melly Grant. I don't know if any people watching were Scandal fans, huge Scandal fan. And as a matter of fact, I told Cenk on the main show, I said, yeah, she's Scandal. I'm an idiot, but she filibustered something. I think she was like wearing a diaper, or they had her like, so she had to poop herself. She wouldn't leave the podium until she got her point across. So in movies and in TV, when something's being filibustered, it's always so dramatic and like they're planning on being there for a week. But John, no, thank you for explaining, because I think people don't realize what it is and what it entails. And you hear it time and time again. You see it in headlines. You see it, especially when it comes to political headlines and bills and things being passed in Congress, the filibuster. It sounds like a sale at Target, like the filibuster this weekend, but it's not. So thank you for explaining.
Yes. Yeah, and like I said, it's been changed many times. Hopefully it will be again. But right now it is just very convenient that it exists for some people. And they are willing to allow it to exist, even if it means the Democrats won't accomplish the things they said they would do, and will probably be destroyed politically as a result of it. I mean, after all, she says, she asked those who want to weaken or eliminate the filibuster. Weaken, what she means by that is literally making them filibuster, to pass voting rights legislation, which she supports, if it would be good for our country to do so. He warned that legislation could be rescinded in a few years and replaced by nationwide voter ID law, nationwide restrictions on vote by mail, or other voting restrictions currently passing in some states extend nationwide. So this is what they've said now for a solid year. If we get rid of the filibuster and actually do something, then the right will just reverse it. Okay, so then you'd be back where we're at right now. Instead, we just have the right-wing status quo. All those things that she's talking about are being passed in state after state after state, and the Democrats nationally have no ability to do anything about it. So the status quo is what the right wing wants. We have one potential tool that could change that balance, and she's saying we can't use it because then someday the right will just do what they want. And I will say what I've been saying over and over again. Her path is a path where the right will retake the House and the Senate and probably the White House in 2024, and they will do what they have always done when they take control, anything they want. There's not much that they want to do. They want to put right-wing justices on the Supreme Court, and they want to pass tax cuts. And by the way, they can do both of those things regardless of the filibuster, because they can't filibuster either of those things. So I would argue they already get everything that they want when they get in power. When will we get what we want? Not anytime soon, if Kyrsten Sinema has anything to say about it.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.